being humble, I know you are, but wouldn't you say you really single-handedly made the Iron Man movies, of course, and really kind of
being
revived
humble
and made Marvel. You put Marvel on the map. Would you be upset if they ever replaced you as Tony Stark and Iron Man, or do you have an exit strategy in any of this?
I believe I do. Let me backtrack and just say that if you'd asked me in 2008, 9, 10 how I felt about it, I would say that I was the Atlas of the Marvel Universe. I was holding it up.
Well, you were.
They should erect a shrine in my honor, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. I really just got to be the front man in a band that was going to be in the Hall of Fame no matter what.
Yes, but you put the franchise on the map. Had you fucked it up,
that
had you not played it well, it could have gone wrong, and that could have been it.
Sure.
Now, look.
I think everybody winds up, for the most part, getting the jobs they're supposed to get, and the rest of it is sour grapes and why isn't this happening for me, and, I only get the stuff he turns down. It's really kind of more of a worldview. And right before Iron Man and the screen test for that, there was part of me that was saying, my worldview has to change if I want to really have a shot. If I'm not on my side for this going my way, why should anybody else be? And I'm not saying that's really what made the difference, but there is a bit of destiny involved in a lot of this stuff.
So you mean you kind of willed yourself to change your attitude? You said, hey, I'm going in for an audition for this movie. I really want Iron Man. I'm going in for Favreau. I want to make sure that these guys, and fuck all the other actors and their thing. I have to come in here and make it my part. Is that what you're saying? You can't be sour grapes. You can't say, oh, woe is me.
No, I haven't really done it since, but for that one instant, I had to psych myself into that there was nobody else on earth had a chance. I was too prepared. I was too confident.
Was it a great audition, in your opinion?
I think, obviously it went pretty well. But that's the funny thing about confidence, too, is confidence, if you, the incorrect amount of it, and nothing will ever happen. Staying in the pocket with it for a while only lasts so long. You even have to transcend that because it's still, because everyone goes like, oh man, Tony Stark is so confident and you must be that confident. And I'm like, I'm portraying someone who's a very kind of broken guy, but his facade is that he's confident. So to say that I'm just the facade is to kind of shortchange how human we all are.
Explain this to me, because I'm not an actor and I don't understand how you develop a character. Are you telling me that when you go in it, and it's a comic book, it's Tony Stark is this character,
right?
And you can read the comic book, but would you go and study a confident tycoon and kind of take on his persona? Is that a way of getting to that character?
I was just thinking, this is me, and I am in this situation.
That's what you do?
Absolutely.
I am a tycoon. I'm brilliant.
Yeah.
And how would I behave if I was that guy?
Yeah, I was driving like, a beat-up, used old car there, and I was, I had the nicest suit I had to put on, but if you'd asked me how it arrived, I would have said in a convoy of Rolls Royces. So
there's nobody, you're not doing an impression of like a super successful guy. It's not an impression, it's you as imagining yourself as a super success.
Yeah, in this instance. Other times it's different. I don't really have a method or a process that I use, but I know that when whatever's going to work for that role or whatever, when it hits me, I know it.
I loved the first Iron Man, and I'm not really a comic book, fan.
Right.
But I met with Jon Favreau, and I wanted to work with Jon so badly. Yeah. And I got really lucky because I had someone like Jon directing that film, and the cast was outrageous. It was able to work with Gwyneth, able to work with Robert.
Yeah, I mean, God, so exciting.
It was so exciting for me. It wasn't the same as just going, I'm making just any old superhero movie or whatever that even means. I mean, Iron Man was groundbreaking in the fact that it had a lot of artistic merit. It was being directed by somebody like Jon Favreau, and I have the opportunity to co-star with Robert. But then at the same time, it had this huge, explosive fan reaction, and who would have known that Iron Man would have been the property that would have
Is Robert
launched
easy
Marvel.
to do scenes with? Because Robert likes to sort of get extemporaneous and maybe not stick to the script. And as an actress, are you sitting there and go, wait, I have to have no one to jump in, Robert. You got to stick to it a little bit.
It's a nice dance with Robert. Robert's so playful, and it's wonderful. It's such a
easy.
joy to watch him. Oh my gosh, it's an absolute pleasure to work with him. He's so great and responsive, and he's just outrageous.
When you sign up to be that character, though, do you have to sign away your life to a certain point because you have to be available for all the other
at that time I signed away a lot of time, and then later on I was able to kind of renegotiate my time, and which worked out, I think, certainly in my favor, but also in Marvel's favor, because they kind of prioritize the work that they do.
Were you freaking out at first because now that your character was so successful, do you have to start turning down things that then you see are big hits and things like that in movies you might have liked to make?
Not necessarily, no, because I was pretty excited to work on Avengers. I mean, that was a huge.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the cast was enormous, and I was able to actually do something with my character that I only kind of hinted at in Iron Man 2. So I was.
Do little kids like bug the shit out of you now that you're?
God, they drive me crazy.
No, but seriously, I mean, is it like when you go?
No, it's more like 23-year-old guys that are still like
hung up on how you squeeze into that outfit and everything. You play Hawkeye in the Avengers.
Yeah.
And is it true you were kind of pissed at first? Like you got into this Avengers movie, which I think is cool, and being a superhero, I think it's great. I was a big comic book reader when I was a kid. I love all these comic book movies. I love seeing it come to life. But it was like, as a great actor as you were probably like, hey man, they're not giving me any lines here. You got a little bit aggravated with this character, right?
Well, I mean, I always just wanted more. It's maybe I'm insatiable, or maybe I just want to get out of second gear, if you will. It's like, well, it's kind of, it's like, let's use all the gears here. There's something. It's like, just make it as interesting as possible. And, there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of moving pieces in that giant, amazing world that they've created. But it's growing more and more. And
you've done 2 of those movies, right?
I can't remember.
You did.
There's 2 Avengers.
There's 2 Avengers.
There's a Captain Rad. There's a lot of them.
Maybe there'll be a Hawkeye movie or something. You know what I mean?
I don't know. That's outside my pay grade.
When they came to you, did they just come to you and say, look, we want you to play Hawkeye? You don't have to audition anymore. I mean, for that kind of crap.
Yeah. I think it was kind of like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you probably like the first one, you don't even get to be with Robert Downey Jr. Like, hey, put me in a fucking scene with Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah, that was the main reason why I wanted to do it, because I really liked what they did with Iron Man. And then they offered this Hawkeye role, which is a guy that had he's just a skill set guy, and he's not like any superpower. I'm like, okay, I can relate to that.
You getting in on that Comic-Con action?
I've been to a few.
Is it annoying to you?
No, it's actually one of the few times you can kind of interact with fans. It's actually really nice.
That's nice.
Yeah.
As long as they're not
you're
stalkers.
doing it in a different way. You're not sitting at a table signing autographs. You're in the room in the question and answer thing.
Those are the best parts of the Comic-Cons. Yeah, is when you get just have a not one-on-one, but you do these sort of conferences and get to speak to the fans, and they have questions. And
you don't get to sit at a table and charge for autographs?
And
That's where I'm at.
There's little like little kids.
Yeah.
Like the joy on a little child's face is, it's really one of the most magnetic, beautiful sort of gifts that I've ever been given. Knowing that I'm affecting them in some sort of way.
Now that you're Ant-Man, and I'm being serious, do you avoid stepping on ants? Like when you're outside, do you respect ants now?
Yeah, I mean, a weird thing happened where I legitimately won't mess with
ants.
Those are your allies. Yeah.
That's what I feel like.
You're Ant-Man.
I do feel this kinship
with ants.
The other day I was like getting some coffee, and a couple of them were kind of from the sink on their way to the Keurig machine.
So what do you do? Do you just pick them up and put them outside if you get ants in the
I just
house?
leave them alone. I figure like they found their way in, they'll find their way out.
Wow, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
You're really Ant-Man.
Yeah, I really. Yeah,
I'm so
brothers in
fucking
arms.
impressed.
Well, what is the lifespan of an ant? Just how far did you go with this?
I don't know. I
Ant-Man.
didn't research it that much.
But I was shocked to find out that you not only got the part of Ant-Man, but you wrote the screenplay with another guy.
Right. Well, there was I got this part, and this originally happened because of a guy named Edgar Wright, who wrote the script with another writer and director, a guy named Joe Cornish. they left the project. Edgar left the movie, and then
did they leave because they were like, oh, we're never going to get this made? It's Ant-Man. I mean,
well, it was supposed to go. I think it was just they had different. Edgar had a different kind of opinion of what it should be or how even they work. Really, how they work.
Right.
Marvel likes to try lots of different things, and Edgar sticks. He's very particular and specific about what it is that he wants to shoot. And so, some of those conversations went on kind of without me, but it was a pretty sudden split. And then there was another draft that had been written by somebody else. And then there was this draft that was kind of floating around. We were going to shoot it in a few months. And so Adam McKay, who wrote and directed Anchorman, came on board because we also needed a director. And then we wound up writing the script from there. And then a guy named Peyton Reed came on to direct it.
And so were you guys trying to write it as a comedy?
Well, I mean...
There's something humorous about Ant-Man.
Yeah,
but
there's no way.
But you got to play it straight, right?
You have to play it straight. It has to fit in. And the thing is, like, we thought, all right, people will think that it's just going to be a straight-up comedy, which it really wasn't. Marvel kind of, they like it to be funny, but then they also want it to be dramatic and action and all of that. And so it was really, we were trying to kind of cover all those bases. But at the same time, you do tell people Ant-Man, and he's going to be flying around on an ant. It's not like we get treated like, the most traumatic thing in the world.
Had you ever written a script before? Was this the first time you actually tackled something like that?
I wrote role models.
Right.
And then I also worked on some of the scripts of this show, Party Down.
Right.
And then other things here and there. But as far as an actual credited script, this was... I think the third, maybe.
And does the studio trust you? Because Role Models made like $92 million or something.
Right.
So is that why they trust you with this franchise?
Honestly, I have no idea why they would.
Right.
And it was all surprising. And it wasn't.
Did you pitch them on it? I mean, did you have to go and say, I have an idea for a story?
Adam and I would go back. Like we looked at that script that Edgar had written.
Right.
And it never veered that far from it, just as far as the blueprint of it, the kind of the story. And then we had some other ideas. Adam and I spent like a couple days talking about it, kind of formulating this, some new scenes, characters, and all that stuff. Then we went in and talked to them and said, what do you think of this? And they said, that's great. Start writing. And so
wow. How long does it take you to write Ant-Man?
Well, I always feel like they did really the heavy lifting. So I think that it probably wound up taking us a couple months.
Couple of months.
Yeah, but I mean, in and out.
It's important for an actor to know how to write, right? In the sense that now you'll get better parts because you have that ability.
Well, I think what's nice about it, in my experience when I've done it, is that it helps me understand the character. I know what the guy would say because
you wrote it.
Yeah.
When you're going to play a superhero and you got to get ripped, who do you go to get that training?
I figured, if I get this part, Marvel's going to have their team, and then I don't have to do anything. They didn't do any of that.
Right.
And if they have a team, I didn't know that. Yeah.
There's no sort of money discussed. Like, hey, we're going to put you in traying camp, and we have a place to send superheroes.
I just started asking people I knew, what do you do?
So what did you do?
I found this nutritionist,
right,
and also a guy that worked with some other athletes and some actors.
But the nutritionist probably has you. Do they have you eat more calories or less?
He just gave me a really specific kind of eating plan where
here's what you have for breakfast.
Yes, he goes, here's what you're gonna have for breakfast. You're gonna have 3 eggs and some oatmeal, and then also 2 spoonfuls of this sunflower oil and coconut oil. These just natural oils.
How intense is the workout?
It was crazy.
You hit the gym how many? Double sessions every day?
I didn't have double sessions really. I mean, I would talk to them and they'd say, okay. The guy, I wound up working out in the city with this trainer, this guy named Richard, who was great.
Right.
And, he was a professional bodybuilder, and he would say, you just need to work out one time. You don't need to do double sessions. We're going to just stick to 4 or 5 times a week. But I was also doing other things outside of that. I do kind of cardio on my own.
Do you run?
Right.
Is that
I would do different things for cardio. Sometimes I would go on an elliptical machine. Other times one of those machines that are like the staircase machine, and then jump rope and rowing.
And you had a 6-pack and the whole thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was the first time.
Appeared?
First time ever.
Right.
It just,
you're like, wow.
All the time. But it was also a bit of a slow burn where it's I was putting in so much work for so long that after a year, I was like, really? This is it?
This is all I get?
I don't look how come I don't look like Chris Evans?
Right. But you did. You got the physique that was good enough.
I got enough that where it's I didn't feel like an imposter in the ant suit.
You work like crazy. How do you choose a film? Do you you probably got a couple of things a year you got to go through. What, you got a team?
Yeah, I got a team of people. I have an agent, a manager, all that stuff, lawyers, and all that. But my agents, my managers, and I read scripts together. But in the end, I'm the boss.
Right.
So if I like it, I tell them, make a deal.
Are you one of those guys who does like, I'll do like a King Kong big picture, and then I'll do like one of those independent films that'll probably get me some kind of Academy Award nomination? Like, do you have a whole philosophy?
No, not
do
at
like
all.
two big films and then do a really, actors film? None of that shit.
I do films according to whether I like them or not, and
whether they'll pay you.
well, not necessarily that, whether I like them or not, and what my schedule is.
Well, how do you wind
The
up
one that's
in?
ready is the one that gets done next.
Right.
But how do you wind up in Snakes on a Plane?
Well, how do you not wind up in a Snakes on a Plane?
That movie
That's
made-
a movie I would have spent my money to go see when I was a kid.
I'm looking at
Sometimes that's my criteria for choosing a movie.
Look at some of these movies.
This is something I wanted to see that I would have gone to see when I was a kid.
Wow.
I'm looking at this. Coming to America, right? You were in that.
That's the job I had to take.
Is that?
Well, young actor, you go to an audition, that's the job you got.
Right.
I wasn't reading scripts then and choosing jobs.
Isn't it funny how some actors seem to feel like you're an actor, you got to act.
Yeah.
You're not going to sit there and be too particular, because when you start out, anything you can be and you got to be.
Everything.
That's the philosophy,
Yeah, my
right?
wife gave me tons of shit about that all the time. So why you take that little piddling ass job?
Because it's
Because it's paying and it's going to help pay for Zoe's private school here in New York. And
you talk about a little job.
Yeah.
I when I was researching you, I saw you in what happens to be one of my favorite songs of all time, and I've said this. You were in the Public Enemy 911's joke.
911's a joke.
You play Flavor Flav's dad.
Yes.
That is wild. And is that not one of the greatest rap songs ever?
it was awesome.
It's an
Yeah.
awesome song.
Yeah.
How do you end up with that gig?
What was I doing? I was shooting a Spike Lee movie, and somebody in the movie was working on a video, and he said, Flavor Flav needs somebody to play his dad. Are you doing anything tonight? And I was
Right.
like, no. Like, well, come on. We're going up in the Bronx. We're going to shoot this video. I had no idea what it was. So I just showed up.
Guy walking around with a big alarm clock around his neck, and you're his
So
dad.
I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, I'll do
in.
it. That's
Yeah.
the philosophy. When you're an actor, you got to act.
You
You
act.
take a role, and that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, you were in Exorcist 3.
And
Yeah.
they used somebody else's voice. I had 2 lines.
Yeah.
And somebody else's voice.
Why would they
They
do
had
that?
somebody else
I have
read your
no
lines?
idea.
Did you ever say to the director, why did you switch out my voice?
I never saw that guy again.
Nobody cares.
It's one of those jobs where, I was like number 85 on the cast list. It's a very strange movie because I remember when I was flying to that job, I was in first class, and I got bumped out of first class because Patrick Ewing
Well,
was
rightfully
going
so.
down there. He needed that seat.
Yeah.
He was the angel with the black wings.
Yeah.
Patrick Ewing and Fabio were in that movie.
No
Wow.
kidding.
They were the
in
angels.
Exorcist 3? Or
Yes.
Fabio is in Exorcist 3?
Yes.
You are kidding me.
We were in like Wilmington, North Carolina, and some, like drive-in motel somewhere, and he was always in the lobby standing under a fan with his hair blowing,
Really?
shirt open.
Was he possessed in that movie?
Fabio.
Fabio.
He was Fabio 24/7.
Oh yeah, and all the little ladies were like losing their minds,
I think probably the 2 most important directors in your career, Quentin Tarantino, of course, because he's given you so many great roles and you've given him great performances, and Spike Lee, right? Do you
Okay.
think? No, am I wrong?
No, not necessarily. I mean, there are other people. I'd go George Lucas.
Oh yeah, right. Star Wars. Now, what about the people are critical of the Star Wars you were in? And does that bug you at all? I mean,
No.
not that it's your fault if someone doesn't like it.
Not at all.
Yeah, but you loved being in those films.
Yes, I asked.
Yeah, you wanted.
You
Who
wanted
wouldn't?
to be in.
Yeah.
You lobbied for that.
I asked George. I mean, well, I said it. I was on a talk show.
Yeah.
And the guy asked me if there were any directors I wanted to work with. I go, yeah, George Lucas. I'd love to be in Star Wars. And didn't think anything about it. And then I went off to do Sphere. And I was in Vallejo, which is close to George's ranch.
Right.
And somebody said, George wants to meet you.
Yeah.
So I went over to talk to him. And, he was writing episode 1. He said, well, I don't know, what I could do. But, I heard you like my films. I'm like, look, man, put me in one of those white suits and let me run across screen.
I don't
Nobody
care whether
even needs to know. I'll be a
Right.
stormtrooper. Nobody even needs to
Right.
know.
You just
It's
wanted that
Yeah, we'll
experience.
find out. And, all of a sudden, months later, they called and I ended up being a Jedi.
Yeah.
And the Marvel films, you like doing those?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why? Because it's fun,
He
or
loves
because of the
comic books.
How
paycheck?
did you not love being in a
Oh, my
movie with a
God.
bunch of superheroes?
Oh, I would love it.
With a bunch of guys, especially if you could tell them what to do.
Right.
Is it weird though on the set when they're pretending to be a superhero? It's kind of funny, right?
No.
No, and they're all dressed up in
With
their
all the
outfits.
green screen stuff, it's really not real.
It's supposed to be like that kids game you played when you were with your friends.
Right.
You know?
It's just fun.
Who do you want to be? I want to be Batman. Who do you want to be? I want to be Superman. Who do you want to be? I want to be the Flash. You know, all of a sudden there you are, and you got your costumes on, and you look good.
You ever
the
do
wind's blowing. It's like, hell yeah, let's play.